Welcome to Creative Muffins podcast, where we explore the highs and lows from personal experiences and creative habits to industry insights and moments of unexpected inspiration. If you like what you hear, be sure to subscribe and share with someone who needs a creative spark today. So grab your coffee, sketchbook, notepad, and let's rise together. The last time we discussed creativity, its trait, its personality, and where you can find inspiration. This time around, we are discussing what fits when you are the business. I had an amazing conversation with an interesting guest. And in the spirit of transparency, I want to apologize in advance for the video quality, which was caused by network fluctuations. And also in the spirit of powering through, let's get into it. Still. So my guest today is Rita. Rita is a former colleague and now a friend. She has quite the vibe. Let me read this. So it says, because I know when we read bios, you don't see this every day. So I'm going to read this out. Rita ditched the classrooms she dreaded to build a business around what lights her up: her family, her books, and stress-free Sundays. She now helps business owners simplify their message and sell with heart so they can focus on life beyond the to-do list. Hi, Rita, welcome.
Hi, thank you so much. That was so sweet. Especially saying, "Oh, I consider you a friend now." So I'm like, "Oh my God, that's so okay, cool, very cool." Thank you so much.
You're welcome. But I'm not going to stop at that intro. I would still ask you to tell me about Rita. Who is Rita?
All right. So that's a very good question. It's pretty funny that you're like talking about here a podcast about creativity and all that, and focusing on the business side of me, I suppose. But that's like such a small part of me because I'm actually just like kind of for the last 2 years I've been a full-time mother. So that's kind of like my thing, and this creativity thing and this business thing is like just such a small part of my day-to-day life. And then I always think it's interesting whenever people ask me, so who is Rita, especially in these professional settings, like who is Rita? And I'm like, I'm a mom, that's the first thing. And then and then I have this thing, yeah. And then I have this thing which I do like 3-4 hours every day, which I actually write for people, and people pay me to write. It's weird. And so it's these two things of like being a mom and then actually writing and enjoying it for businesses.
So I'm wondering, how do you combine both of them together?
Oh, there are days. I mean, you have to be really relaxed about things. You have to be super relaxed. You can't have those things of, today I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that and whatever. Because
can I interrupt you briefly?
Sure.
So never for one day have I seen you as someone who can be stressed. You look so calm, so chill. For real. And I'm not saying this because of here, but you look like you have everything put together. I know that kids are a lot. I know it's a lot, but you don't show it. Like your body language, you just look chill every time.
I mean, you have to be chill because otherwise you're gonna go nuts. And yeah. The thing is, I'm really I try to be super flexible about this. And the other day I saw this metaphor about like this work-life balance, like being a mother and all that. And I just thought it's like that. And then it was someone saying that, this thing of, being a mother and having a business, you are juggling with plastic balls and glass balls. And it doesn't mean that the kids are the glass balls and the business is the plastic ones. It just means that within the business life, there are glass balls, and within the kids, like with your personal life, there are glass balls as well, and plastic ones. So you kind of just have to grab the glass balls and let the plastic ones fall, So sometimes I'm going to be like, I'm sorry, kiddo, but, right now mom's got to work because I have to do like something that's really important. And other times I have to say to my clients, like, I'm sorry, dudes, but my kid is sick, so peace out, So you just kind of have to choose like the glass balls and let the plastic ones sometimes fall, It's kind of like that. So yeah, you gotta be chill.
No, but again, even with the way you explain this, it just shows like your skill as a writer. That's amazing. So,
No,
anyways, that's about the full-time mom part of you. So I'm going to ask you questions now about your writing aspects or your writing life.
Sure.
How did you start writing?
Well, I've written my entire life. Actually, when I was kind of like 6 years old, I wrote this book and, drew the pictures, and the book is somewhere around there. And it's a terrible book, by the way. So. Sorry.
I thought you were going to say when you're in your mom's womb, you were like writing on the walls of her
bed. Yeah, that would have been it. No. I have no clue if I was, like, I don't remember, but, yeah. So I've been writing my entire life, and, I was one of those kids that really liked reading and all that. Like, I was a nerd. I was always a nerd. And then in university, I actually took an English major. So in English literature and all that. So like super nerdy stuff. And the intention was to become an English teacher, because it's a stable job, and, it's good money. For Portuguese reality, it's good money, yeah. And it's a stable job and whatever. So I was just like, I'm going to be an English teacher. But the catch is that I'd never been in a classroom before. So, I wanted to be a teacher without actually having taught anything, in a classroom full of kids. And so once I actually got that experience of being in a classroom full of 30 kids that, absolutely despise you and hate you, I was like, nope, I cannot do this for 40 years. I'm going to kill myself before then, And so this sentiment was building up. And once my son was born, I was like, no, I cannot do this. I need something else. This is not going to be the rest of my life, And so that's when I started to look for other things still related to English and to the things that I learned. And I went on LinkedIn and all that, and something kept popping up. It was copywriter. And I was like, what the hell is a copywriter? And why are all these companies looking for a copywriter, And so that's when I actually started looking into it, and I was like, oh, so copywriter is the text that find on ads and all that. Oh, so they do that, that's a job, and that's kind of when I met you. You met me at that beginning of the journey when I was actually starting to figure out if I liked this or not, and so. That was kind of my journey with writing. And nowadays, I'm a freelancer, so I have a couple of clients. And yeah, so now writing is again, part of my life, every day, So yeah, that was kind of my journey through writing.
So it's not been so long ago you started.
Yeah.
And you've done a number of jobs for different companies and clients.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, what do you think, or what would you say is the reason for the speed that you've achieved within this short period?
I mean, I when I look at myself, I think that I haven't achieved a lot, I just think, oh man, I should have done more, like I always have this voice in my head saying, no, you should have done more, like look at this,
I think
you haven't done, yeah, but there's always this voice. I think everyone has it.
I think we're always doing that.
Yeah, I think everyone has this kind of, yeah. I think everyone has this like inner voice saying, it's like Dan Elkin says, your inner critic is a ding dong, like Dan Elkin is absolutely right. And so yeah, you're asking that question, and already like my imposter syndrome is like, dude, you shouldn't be answering this, But yeah, I've worked with a number of clients, and I mean, I think what has brought me here is that I'm very, very stubborn. So I don't give up easily. Like, for example, when I'm, trying to look for, businesses to work with, I don't give up after the first no, or I don't give up after like the first email or the first contact. Like I keep going after people and saying, oh, I'm here, like, don't forget me. So I think that's one of the reasons that I'm very, very stubborn about this. Like if I want something, if I want to work with them, I'm going to go after them, and I've done that literally as well. But yeah, kind of stalkerish a bit, but it's fine. But I think it's the stubbornness.
How do you stay stubborn in such a way that it helps you get your desired goals without looking like a pest or coming up?
Oh, yeah, that's an excellent question.
Where do you find the thin line to say, okay, maybe going this mile will be too much? Maybe I should pause here.
Yeah.
How do you balance it?
That's an excellent question. Yeah, that's an excellent question, really. I mean, honestly, it's purely vibes. Like I don't have a criteria. When I feel that people are saying, like, when I'm reading their emails or when I'm talking to them and I feel that there's kind of like a cold shoulder or something, I just, I stop and I'm like, okay, never mind. So it's purely vibes, really. And I think it's probably cultural as well. Like maybe for Portuguese people, like doing something multiple times, it's okay. But maybe if I was working with like, I don't know, Danish or something, I should probably back off earlier. I don't know. Maybe it's a cultural thing. So yeah, it's purely vibes, honestly. No criteria whatsoever. It's like if at a certain point, like if I'm talking to them like 3-4 times and they don't reply, or they clearly show that, they're not interested, I'm like, okay, good day, sir or ma'am, and just go our ways,
I couldn't help but remember like a few Portuguese footballers. I'm a football fan, big football fan, and
nice.
I love, of course, Ronaldo. He played for my favorite club, Manchester United.
Oh, so cool!
I love Ronaldo. I love Jose Mourinho. I love him so much.
Awesome.
And a few others. I have a few other favorites. Pepe, Bruno Fernandes. Bruno Fernandes, of course, is our captain at the moment. Right. That's at Manchester. So I've noticed that they are very stubborn people. Not just stubborn. When they put their mind to something, they go for it. Like they don't look like people to give up. I don't know if you get me. And so I'm wondering, and I've always had this question in my Portuguese are trained, or is there some sort of orientation that you guys go through to build you guys in this manner? Because I feel like it also helps them in their professions. So you'd see that no matter what, they make a name or they make like strong statements. So I'm wondering, is it a national thing? And you saying this, and you're not a footballer, Or did you play football in the past?
No, I
I'm
haven't.
not sure.
No.
But
No.
so it aligns with how they behave, and you are in a different field, but you still share at your core, it's still the same thing. So is there something about being in Portugal or being a Portuguese that makes you guys this way?
That's a really good question. There's this expression here in Portugal, which the literal translation is unshit yourself. That's the literal translation. And what it means actually is just that when you are in like a tough situation, you just have to, try to get out of it in like some way, like just, try it and whatever. So you just say like, unshit yourself, so I think that's a big part of our, psyche is like you are in a tough situation, just like try to get out of it and like in the best possible way, you're alive and you survive it, so I think it's probably that kind of cultural thing of just doing it. And I think that that's one of the reasons that whenever like Portuguese workers work out, like we go to other countries, there's this feeling of we do a lot with so little, like I remember a couple of years ago seeing a research paper saying that, like here in Portugal, researchers get a lot less money for their research, but they kind of get the same, they can do the same things as other countries that have a lot more, budget, which is insane. Like, how are you doing more like the same with less money, And so I think we bring that the kind of thing, there's no money, so let's just, try our best, So I think that's probably like there's a cultural thing going on here, which should probably be studied and has probably been studied. But yeah, it's probably that. I'm guessing. I don't know. That's a good question, though.
No, but that's amazing because I keep saying it, and the easiest place for me to see it is in the football. Is in the football world. Like every time, and I'm not saying all Portuguese players stand out. No, but when you see certain traits, character traits, you'd likely find them to be Portuguese, and I'm like, okay, that's cool.
That's cool.
I asked this question or a similar question in the last episode, and I want to hear it from your own perspective. Right. How do you think your personality traits impact work?
Good question. I think here there's like two facets to it, because for like in one part I'm very quirky and kind of insane, in some ways, and so that's pretty good, because what happens is that like people like the ones that enjoy that kind of thing, like that kind of insanity, they're like, yeah, this chick is cool, like I want to work with her. And at the same time, the people who are very serious, it's like, they talk to me and they're like, I'm never going to work with this person, and that's fine, So I think that the fact that I'm kind of like insane and quirky and, make jokes all the time, it's good for my business because, it attracts the right people. And it's very easy to, have chemistry with the right people. At the same time, it's the thing of, that stubbornness that I was talking about. I think it influences my work because I'm never like I'm always trying to, improve myself, and I'm always trying to like this, like, for example, in the case of emails, like long-term clients, I'm like, this email should have been better. Like I'm always kind of nitpicking, the things that I do like to improve. So I think that people appreciate that because they feel that, I'm not trying to like just write a couple things and whatever and not think about them. People appreciate that kind of, like being super nitpicky and, critical of what I'm doing. So I think those two personality traits, like me being quirky and me being like kind of not perfectionist but critical of myself, I think that they probably like go hand in hand, you know.
Nice. And how do you deal with criticism?
So there are two stages, at least from what I can tell, like in myself. So the first stage is like full blown, like, fuck this guy, you know, like they don't know what they're talking about. Fuck you, you know, like I hate you. Please stop criticizing me. So like that's the first like 5 seconds, you know, like you get the outburst of anger from someone criticizing your work. The second stage is like, wait, let me just, you know, be rational, okay? Like, just, you know, leave your emotions out of this, you know, because a lot of times, like the copywriter, they're your baby, you know. I'm guessing with your designs, it's the same thing. Like you've been working on the design so long, and they're kind of like your baby. So when someone criticizes you, it's like you're criticizing my baby, like. There's this emotional reaction. But the second, I think it's more important.
I spent hours doing.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, it's normal. But then you have to kind of push it apart and be like, be rational about this. Like, what is this person saying that, you know, could help you improve whatever the hell you're doing, you know? And what I try to do with my clients a lot of time is ask them, like, for example, when they say, I don't like this. Okay. And then I'm like, why do you not like this? You know, like, let's actually understand what's behind, like, what's the logic behind? Because a lot of times they're right, you know? A lot of times they're seeing, you know, the business is there. So there's a lot of information that, you know, you can extract, but at the end of the day, like they know, you know?
A lot of times, yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of times they may be right, but you need to actually go deeper. So I just ask them, like, what do you not like about this? Like, is it the sentence? Is it the style? Is it like this specific, you know, word, you know, something like that? Or is it like, does this not make sense for you, for your objectives or something? So a lot of times, like, that criticism can be really helpful because it helps you like understand more about the business, you know? So that's how I deal with it. It's like anger, and then let's be, you know, let's actually explore this, you know, like this is worth looking into. So
So me, sometimes I feel like well, again, I had a conversation with my father some days back, and he was taking the side of the clients. He's like, it's very, very possible for somebody not to know what they want, but when they see it, they know. But
yeah,
the problem I have with this theory is, I agree that maybe you're not clear on what you want. There's a way, I feel like manner of approach matters a lot. There's a way that you can communicate maybe your displeasure or disapproval of a particular work, and also give grace. I feel like one thing people fail to do is give grace. You have to understand that I don't know what you're thinking. I'm responsible for what you say, but others are responsible for what they interpret it to be. And so it comes off different ways. You know, the whole 6 and 9 thing, where someone standing out on one end sees 9 and the other person on the other side sees a 6. So exactly. It's like that. And when you come up with, when they don't hit the mark, I feel like clients should also understand that this person can't see what's in my head. And I'm also struggling to interpret it. If I can interpret it perfectly well, the person would get it. And so maybe I should give this person more grace in order to be. You can't just do something without the input of the client. And so I'm now wondering, how do you get them to behave in this ideal manner and not the other, no, you didn't get it right, I'm going to meet someone else. And when it happens like this, do you sit and try to so how do you deal with this kind of situations?
Honestly, from the top of my mind, I haven't had a single client that was rude to me. And I think it's because like I'm very picky about the clients that I work with. Like they have a sort of personality, theirs matches mine. Like they're very go-getters and they're very like, let's, find a solution. So I actually haven't encountered this thing of, them being rude. Is more like, I don't like this word, but they're very like, they're very, very respectful about it. But if I do ever encounter it, I'm gonna be like, well, let's see when the end of the contract, like when does the contract end? Okay, let's pinpoint that as the bye-bye, because I don't like we're like in the freelancing world, one of the advantages is that you get to pick who you work with. And I'm not gonna work with someone who's gonna mistreat me, I'm not gonna work with someone who's just gonna be like disrespectful to me. So, I mean, I may warn them like, okay, like I'm not your employee, but you should maybe consider the relationship, unless you need the money, maybe in that case, think about it real hard. But I do think that it's also a matter of like being super picky with the clients before actually getting to, working with them. I don't know. Like I said, like my career is very young, so I will eventually get to them, and we'll see how I'll handle it.
So I think I love what you're saying about picking the people you work with. I love that so much. And I think that's one thing I have not really done. Although there are times people reach out to me and I tell them maybe, okay, this is not feasible. I may not be able to do this, but however, I can recommend someone for you. I have those moments, but I don't think I won't say I'm the one picking picking the clients. I'm just saying that in those moments, I feel like it's more of the circumstance I find myself in at the particular time that dictates whether or not I'm going to work with them. And so I think it's very, very important what you said about picking your clients, because that way you just filter and then you go with the vibe. And I feel like it will be a lot better because even though you said that you've had a young career, I think you've had enough for you to be able to have encountered this. And so there's something you are doing that has prevented you from encountering such clients. I'm standing on that. So I think that's one thing maybe I think that's one thing I have to actually adopt. That's a good one. Thanks, Rita.
Oh no, just you adopt what do you need to do in your life, you mean,